Hey everybody. Glad to glad to see some faces here, and to anyone that is joining on the replay. Hello. This is Laurel and this is the info session for Deep Listening, a brand new program that I'm very excited to launch here next month, just a month away. So it'll be the third Wednesday of each month, and just here to share some information about this program, and also, sorry, this view is a little distracting here for me. Answer any questions that you might have. This is brand new, and this is going to be kind of a co-creative process. I have a lot of different information to share, and anyone participating will also be, part of this evolution. Most of my work up until now has been one-on-one with clients, and that's been amazing. But I'm really excited to share within a group space. And so I'm just gonna, if you're not already muted, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute you. And as we do this, feel free to ask questions in the chat if there's something in real time that you just really want to express and ask. And then also, you can raise your hand, and I will, as best I can, answer questions during this, and then at the end leave time for that. And I'm hoping also at the end of this that there'll be a chance to do a group release, which is one of the tools that I offer using the Sedona method that we'll be using a lot in this program. But first, just want to go ahead and do a little grounding just to get us all here and centered. So I'll just start with taking some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, and I'm gonna do this with you. Just noticing if there's anywhere where there's tension in the body. And if there is, you can either place your hand there gently or just breathe into that space. A lot of this work is really going to be about noticing the body, connecting with the body, and also utilizing nature to harmonize with nature and the energy of each season. So that's a aspect that I'm really excited to bring into this. So just taking a few grounding breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. So we can really arrive in this space together. Great. So first I want to just want to give a little bit of a a kind of a backstory. How do we get here? What informed this particular program of deep listening? And then really, what I hope to address through this, and giving an overview of what the program is going to look like. And then having an opportunity to ask questions if you haven't asked them already. And then we'll hopefully have time for that group release. I think we should be great. When I did this last time, we had plenty of time to share. So, excuse me. To get started, I'd love to tell you a little bit about myself. I actually grew up in northern Wisconsin on a small farm. It was a little hobby farm, goats and sheep and chickens and rabbits, and was very connected to nature. We even didn't have running water. We took saunas. We collected our water from artesian well. We grew the majority of our own food, lived very, very close to the land. And that's really, part of me, my deep roots of how I grew up. And even though this was an incredible experience to live so close to nature, I was ashamed. I was ashamed because my family was poor, and we didn't have running water, and it was somewhere that I didn't feel comfortable, sharing, bringing classmates to where we lived. And yeah, so there was a lot of things I needed to work through with that. And when I was 12, we moved into town, and when I got to flush a toilet, that was very exciting for me. And yeah, and then in 1996, when I graduated high school, and then kind of moved to the city, and really kind of left that rural upbringing. going to college and all that. And then 2008, 12 years after that, I bought my first home. And I was really interested in organic gardening, like local food and really locally grown food is something that I grew up with and I really appreciate in my life. And so I took an organic gardening class, and from that I was kind of hooked. And I learned, like, to really grow organically, you really need to, if you're not going to use, fertilizers and pesticides and all those things, then you really need to, there's a lot of extra steps you need to take. And it kind of felt like a lot to take on for myself. And so I kind of stepped into this role of assisting farmers, and really being that helping hand. That was one way. Another way that I could support local food, in addition to purchasing it, was to support those farmers in their work. And I've volunteered at a variety of different farms, and that's something that really helped me during COVID. I moved to a new city, and then a couple of months afterwards, that's when the pandemic happened and we were in quarantine. And I actually started volunteering with some friends of mine that had a small farm, and because that was something you could still do. And that was a kind of a reconnection to that experience, and something I did for quite a while, and then didn't have space or time for it. And so this whole experience of deep listening kind of came from that, of remembering my roots and something that I value greatly, and how to bring that into the work that I offer clients. And so this is really a combination of all of that. And it's also inspired by a comment that my friend Dwayne, that I was assisting on his farm, that he made to me once. As humans, I think we are really hard on ourselves and blaming ourselves for a lot of things happening in the world. And there's this idea that we're separate from nature, that there's this human experience I'm having right now, and then there's like the rest of nature and everything that's out there. And he made a comment. He's like, we're not separate from nature. We actually are nature. We're part of it. And at the time, it was kind of this foreign idea. But as I continue to explore this work, it points more and more to that. And that's something that I really hope to bring into this, is that remembrance of who we truly are, and utilizing nature. This idea that we're separate and that we kind of are running on our own rhythm, and it can create a lot of disconnection and disharmony, and we can actually be working harder and against what that natural rhythm is, and making things more difficult in our human experience. And so the idea with deep listening is that we can bring those two things together and create more synergy and harmony. And so very excited to do that. And during these last 6 years of working with clients, the one area, if I had to, just going to adjust this a little bit more. If I had to narrow that down of like a common thing that I've noticed, and this is something I've noticed in my own, this human experience here of being so much in the head. There's so much to do. There's, problems to solve, frustrations, all these things that arise, living off of our to-do lists, our scheduling. And we get really, really in our heads focused on doing things. And this can create a lot of disconnection within our own being. And so the idea is, like, how do we notice what's happening and get more into the body, get into this bodily experience, while also realizing and really experiencing how we are not the separate individual having this separate experience from the rest of life, from nature, but that it actually, we're part of a greater whole. And I noticed that sense of separation and being so much in the head and focused on doing all the time can create a feeling of like unfulfillment. Like I'm asking for a show of hands, how many of you have had this experience where, you feel really unfulfilled? Like you feel like, God, there's something that I need to be doing. There's isn't there something more to this? Like the sense of, I'm over here, experiencing suffering as part of my human experience, and like yearning for something, longing for something beyond just, the day to day. Like, isn't there something more? Anyone have that experience, like feeling like you're searching for something, that, yeah, this idea that there isn't there more here. I know I have felt that way before. And this really, going back to nature, noticing what's happening in nature and noticing ourselves as an extension of nature, is one way to really mitigate that, and find that sense of like peacefulness and connectedness to the greater whole. So I just want to pause for a minute. That's a lot of words. Just seeing if there's any initial thoughts, questions, feedback, anything about that, before I continue. So far,
I had a thought actually.
yes, please.
Um, when it comes to the level of connectedness that humans long to have, do you think that, I don't know, do you think that comes with taking on the not the burden, but the responsibility of being a steward of the land? And like, is that like one of the first steps to becoming more connected and feeling more in alignment with that purpose, is taking on some level of stewardship responsibility for the way things are? Or does that add to the burden of thinking that, oh, everything is the fault of humans, so we're the only ones who can fix it?
That is a fascinating question. Yeah, I mean, hmm, I don't know if I can answer that for all of humanity. But yeah, I think it's probably both, would be my intuitive guess. I mean, I think there's a couple sides to that. I think I see people that are like lifetime activists, people that feel that great calling, um, to be of service in that way in the world. And I can see, people that I know that fall into that. There is that sense of burden. There is that sense of struggle, and I'm not sure, how much relief can come through that. Yeah, and there's also a great joy, and I think a big part of, there is like that need or desire, to give back, to be of service in whatever way that looks like. I mean, I know with this work, my teacher, Hale Dwoskin, he talks about, facilitating with a method, and like as we offer these tools and techniques, that, it's, um, the amount that, by giving, by offering this, the amount that comes back, that it's not just the person that I might be sharing this with, but it's that we both receive that, and that there's that intention of like, let's broadcast this to the world, let's be of service and offer in this way. And for myself personally, the way that I look at that is like, what is your individual body, mind, what is it being called to do? Where are you drawn? Where is your energy naturally tuned into? Um, and also, what brings you joy as you do that? You know, I mean, there's no lack of suffering in the world. Like, suffering, is one aspect of the human experience, as much as pleasure and joy and satisfaction and fulfillment. And so for me, I look at, where am I being called to be of service, and allowing myself to go that way, and knowing that like there's other people being called to do other things. And and not letting myself get down on myself for making the choices that I'm making. Like I might not be in places that are at war, helping, you know, people on the grounds with that. You know, that's very much happening in the world. But, you know, where can I bring more peace to the communities that I touch, the people that I work with? And that's one way that I navigate that. Whereas somebody else might make a very different decision. And so, Zaylin, I'm not sure if that totally hit on what you were
No,
asking.
you totally like hit the nail on the head.
Okay,
You
perfect.
really did. Especially
Phew.
the part where it's like, where does my energy naturally attune to? And then like, because that was that was like the verbiage I was looking for,
Yeah.
to ask myself that question. And then also like, yeah, I do feel the intense guilt of like, I'm not in a war zone. I'm not helping like as much as I could help. I'm not martyring myself. I'm not sacrificing everything I am. And
Right.
it's like you have to trust other people to pick up where you can't because you're just one and we are a collective.
Yes. Yes. And you mentioned something that I think is really key. Like, how does like this body, this mind, you know, feeling burdened, feeling like I'm not doing enough, that I need to do more. Like, who is that helping? Who
Mm.
who who is that benefiting? You know, it's definitely not benefiting this body mind, you know, like not doing enough. That is like a core belief that this being here has struggled with, you know, and that not enoughness, like that is the key element of what we're going to look at. Because there is this idea that like, and that comes from this idea of separation, that I am separate from everything else. And so what is going to fill this sense of like emptiness that arises from
Mhm.
that sense of separation, which is actually not real. Like it's something we're taught, you know, like we come into the world like this newborn baby, fresh and new, and we have to learn our name. We have to learn that like we're separate from the oneness that like we were birthed and, you know, we first were conceived and, you know, developing, and then we came out. And so that's something that's learned. And that can create that sense of like that we have to strive for something. Like if I do better, then like, and then I'll be enough, is a core experience that we all have. And so yeah, is that
Thank you.
you're welcome. Great question. Please. Yeah, thank you. And you know, feel free to keep asking.
Yeah.
Um, so so that's kind of like the like, why are we here, basically? And so this is one solution. And I look at deep listening, I kind of like compare it. I'm a big yoga practitioner. I compare it to like going to yoga class, you know, or going to whatever class you might, you know, might go to meditation class or whatever it is, whatever kind of lifelong practice, you know. And I kind of look at it like, you know, I could just go to one class and just try it out, you know, just see like, is this for me? Am I into this? And there's something that I'm going to get from it. There, you know, my intention is that each class will stand alone, and I'll be offering different teachings, and I'll tell you more about those teachings in a minute. And then, but my intention is that they will build on each other. So you could decide just to come once, just to check it out, and it's $27 a class. You only have to sign up for one. So no commitment. I just wanted to have a very low barrier for entry so that this could be as accessible to as many people as possible. And then, yeah, third Wednesday a month, $27. You sign up, you show up, and then you can decide if you want to continue. And what this is going to be founded on is my work with the Sedona method, which I was introduced to in 2018. And I continue to study, continuing to develop my understanding of. And that's all about letting go, releasing what resistance to whatever's, you know, here in the moment. And then we get to explore the truth of who we are. You know, if we were no longer, you know, had the sense that we were separate, if we were no longer seeking for something for us to feel whole and complete, well, then who would we get to be? Who are we actually are beyond that sense of struggle or suffering? And so we'll explore that. And then I'm also very excited because we're going to bring in the work of extreme freedom from Alison Armstrong, who is one of my other mentors, and I'm certified in her program, Extreme Freedom. And there's lots of information in there, all different topics, as well as additional tools, different therapeutic tools that we may also use those tools as well, in addition to the Sedona method. And so I'm going to be bringing in her teachings, which I have not been able to do as much working with clients. And then is the natural piece. And so a separate thing from deep listening is this farm residency, which I am also developing. And what this looks like is each season for 3 months, I'm going to be volunteering at a different local farm or garden. My intention is somewhere that produces food or, herbs, for like herbal medicine. And I'll be going there and volunteering 1 day a week. And with the intention that I'm really going to be deeply listening to that piece of earth and, communing with the land and giving back to support that local farm and bringing in whatever other wisdom, inspiration that I received through that experience. And then the other piece is each of those seasons is going to have a different theme. So spring, we're starting off with spring, which some people would argue is actually the beginning of the year. Spring is the new cycle, new beginnings, new life emerging. And so the spring series is called Emergence. And so it's all about really harnessing that creative energy of spring to really see what is it that I want to create in my own life. And this could be anything. I mean, really, the sky is the limit. Doesn't have to be something physical or tangible, but what is it that I want to bring forth? What do I want to create? What's kind of brewing within me? And now, as we're leading up to spring, March 19th, actually the day before we start deep listening, is the spring equinox. And that's when there's equal light and dark, and that's the official beginning of spring. So we are moving in that direction. And this final time is really that time to be kind of sorting through, what is it that's coming in, kind of what is emerging in me, and just kind of sitting with that. We don't have to start being active with it because we're still in that like sorting time of the end of winter. But that's where we're moving into. Bye, Julie. I'm so glad that you're excited to be part of this. We'll see you soon. Yeah, so we're really taking in, harnessing that creative energy. This is the energy of what's going to be happening all around us. And so we're going to bring that into the experience. And so that's what the first 3 months of deep listening are really going to be all about, is that creative energy. But then also, what needs to be released? What do we need to let go in order to make room for something new to be birthed? That's really the theme of those first 3 months. And, I'll be, kind of sharing, pictures from my experience at the first farm. It's going to be Crabtree Farms of Chattanooga. That's our spring location. We'll be spotlighting that farm for the spring series. And, I'll be sharing pictures and insights in my newsletters and social media, and just really bringing, sharing that through deep listening, but then also my monthly support call on the first Wednesday of the month at noon Eastern time. That's available free of charge. So that'll be, this whole creative energy of spring will be part of what we'll be talking about. And let's see, the calls will be on Zoom. So I will be at Crabtree, and you all will be joining me via Zoom. But the idea is, if it's a beautiful day, that I will be outside in the natural landscape, immersed in nature, and you'll be seeing that part of Crabtree Farms on the video while we do the call. We're really hoping that we don't have any technology issues, so we're going to play with that. But really the idea is to take you all into that natural space with me and allow us all to be inspired by the energy of that natural site in the spring season. And then at the end, so because this is on Zoom, that allows people from anywhere to participate in this program. But for those that are local to Chattanooga, at the end of the 3-month series, we're going to have a service day at Crabtree Farms. So then we can all come together and be there on the land. And we're gonna do a volunteer project. You know, there might be a little bit of other ceremony or, you know, something else that we do to come together. That's being developed. We don't have that date set yet, and the format is still being figured out. But in the coming weeks, I will have more information about that service day. So that's an opportunity after you've learned all about Crabtree and you've been inspired by, you know, spring unfolding there, that you get to come and experience it for yourself. And so that's the culmination. And then we'll repeat that cycle every season. So we start off with emergence with spring, and then summer is going to be all about celebration and playfulness and enjoyment. You know, I think as these creatures that we are that are so geared up towards doing, that it's important to recognize, you know, the importance of let's play, let's celebrate, let's enjoy. You know, that's a big part of what it means to also be human. So that is going to be at Walden Peak Farms, which is on Signal Mountain, and they have beautiful wildflowers, a bunch of flowers that they've planted there. So there'll be tons of flowers during summer, and it'll be incredible. And then we move into fall, and the energy of fall on, you know, and we're using like a solar wheel. Like this is a medicine wheel. So if you've done ceremony, you know, any different native traditions or other spiritual practices, you may use a wheel, and different, you know, the different times of the year have these different energies. So the wheel that I'm was trained under in fall, which is the direction of the west, is introspection. So after, you know, we kind of rebirth, we go out into the world with spring, you know, full on with summer. And then with fall, we start to kind of go inward again. You kind of get those bright fall colors as a last, like, hello, before things start to die off again. So in fall, we kind of reflect, we kind of go within and in that introspective place, and kind of reevaluate, okay, what is it that I've created over these last 6 months? And, you know, kind of examine that, and the fruits of our harvest. And then after, and that location is to be determined. And then in winter is winter slumber. So winter is a time where we really go within, we start to hibernate. It's the dream time. And that's kind of when we sort the seeds. You know, we sort out what, you know, kind of what it is that we want to dream in for the coming year to be rebirthed in spring again. So, and that's, to me, really important time, because, you know, the holiday season can be very busy. There's a lot happening. And I think it's really important during that time, especially to make time to go within, make time to be still. You know, really, you know, the light is starting to diminish as we move towards, you know, the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. And yeah, so it's just important time to really honor that energy and be in alignment with it. I mean, how many people get burnt out, tired out, exhausted during the holidays? So winter will really be about trying to flow with that energy in a healthier way, so we can enjoy the holiday season. And I have a very special place that I'm hoping to do the winter series. We have yet to finalize that, but stay tuned on that. A place that's near and dear to my heart in the local area to Chattanooga. So trying to see if I have anything else. And I do plan on bringing in some solo practices. So since we're only meeting once a month with deep listening, you know, other things that you can do, you know, this is a practice, you know, really listening deeply to our bodies, you know, listening to what's happening in nature and aligning with that natural flow is a lifelong practice. And so my plan is to develop, you know, journaling prompts, things that you could, if you're a journaling person, you know, encourage you to take that quiet time, you know, the morning when we first wake up and before we go to bed are perfect times to really be in that more quieter alpha brain state, and, you know, kind of reflecting through journaling. So I'll be doing journaling prompts that align with our seasonal theme, and other elements, you know, encouraging all of you to really take time, you know, how often are you in nature unplugged, not listening to music or podcast or talking to somebody else, but really being immersed in nature. So encouraging all of you to make time for that, to deeply listen to the natural world around you. And other things to really check with our bodies, and where the energy is in our own bodies and how to work with that. And yeah, I think, trying to think if there's any other details. Zaylin, question.
Yeah, so you mentioned that there's 3 months in each season, and it's the third Wednesday of every month. And then at the
Mhm.
end, there's a service day. Do we have to come to all three of the meetings in order to go to the service day, or can we miss one? Like, what if we miss one?
You miss one, you're out. No. I haven't finalized all that. I really want the service day to be open, so people can really connect with their local community. So, I don't really foresee myself or the farm being like requiring that. I'm even trying to flow with, do we want it just to be deep listening people, or what if they have like a work day and we just have maybe our own part and then we join others, that may be what works. I really want it to be as open to as many people as possible, while also allowing the opportunity for us to have our own, time to connect, for people that are in the group. So it may be a combination of both, but no, you don't have to go to all three to go to the service day. But great
Okay,
question. Yeah, thank
thanks.
you for asking. Yeah, and I do, like I said, I do still need to finalize that with Crabtree, but I hope to get those details together as soon as possible. And anybody here that's listening that is not familiar with Crabtree Farms, they are an incredible urban farm. I don't have the date in my mind right now, how long they've been in operation, but it's been, a couple decades. They've been really committed to sustainable farming practices, and they do a lot for the local community. And they're just an amazing organization. They do lots of educational programming, and there's volunteer opportunities. So yeah, the more people that we can plug into that organization, the more the better. I'm really, initially with this program, I thought at first it would be women only. And then I had a support call with one of my dear friends, actually my dear friend Dwayne that I mentioned, my farmer friend. He attends those calls, and I was like, I couldn't even like get it out of my mouth that like this is for women only. I just couldn't say it. And for those of you that don't know Allison Armstrong, I mean, her background is all about honoring men and then honoring women, and then how do we come together to cultivate more harmonious partnerships. And so I personally am really in that space of honoring all genders, whatever that looks like for you, all people, and really focusing on, what is it like to be human in these bodies, and how can we be more loving and accepting and honoring of our experience, and coming from that place to really bring people together. Like, when Zaylin asked about, being of service and how do we do for others? I mean, for me, that is one of my personal dreams and visions for humanity, is that what would it look like if all men were honored and all women were honored, and recognized for our uniqueness and who we are, and from that, what could we create together? And so yeah, this is open to everyone because we're all in this together. There's a lot of value in having, women's circles and men's groups, and I really acknowledge um, those opportunities. I've been, part of that. I had my own goddess sisterhood and my spiritual background, which will weave into this as well. But I'm really here to stand for us being together and creating a space for that togetherness. And so yeah, I think I'm just going to give an opportunity if there's any last questions. And then we'll do a little, after that, we'll do a little release, and then we'll probably wrap up. So any other last lingering questions? This has been great. Thank you for the questions that have been asked. Yeah, okay. And again, just so I don't forget, my website, laurelaskew.com, LAURELASKUE.com, and Laurel at laurelaskew.com are the ways to get in touch with me. You probably, wherever you're accessing this video, have that information, but I'm available for other questions. And that's where you can also register for deep listening. So thank you. So I'm gonna, on that note of togetherness, I think we're gonna go there. So yeah, just taking a moment and just noticing, there's a lot of words. Thank you for receiving them. And just as best you can you just allow those words to just float away? Just float away. They'll likely come back, but just noticing them, just like clouds on the sky. They're there, hanging around, but just let it pass on by with ease. And anything else that's activated in this moment, anywhere that you feel pulled to go, or anything that feels like you need to do, as best you can you just pause and stop and notice what's here now? Just this moment. And notice, as you dip back into memory, this idea of separation, this idea that there's me and then there's this world out there. Noticing any sense of me versus other. Any sense that I'm here having this experience that's separate from everything else. And even if, you may not relate to this idea of separation, that might feel unfamiliar, just noticing any sense of, these thoughts that I'm having, these ideas, or these feelings that can be so strong sometimes. Noticing any sense of, these are mine. This is personal to me. Noticing any sense of wanting to be seen or wanting to be understood. Sometimes there's this deep longing to be witnessed in this way. Notice that sense of, anytime you're like, oh, this person, they get me. And then there may be this other experience of not being understood, of feeling different, a sense of being an outcast or not belonging in any way. And whatever of that feels true for you in this moment, or that you can relate to or connect to, can you just simply welcome that? We're just going to call it all this feeling of being separate. And sometimes it's these things that we identify with. The experience of being a woman, being a white woman, being poor, being educated, having siblings, whatever these things are that you're like, this is my experience, this is part of my story. And maybe somebody who looks different, behaves different, they may not understand me, might not get me. So just noticing any of that feels true and just allowing it to be here. This is not about judging or making anything wrong. We're just noticing, kind of doing a little inventory. So just seeing that, allowing that. And then as best you can, just for now, what would it be like to set that down? What would it be like if you simply welcomed belonging, togetherness? Could you welcome the oneness that is all? We also, there's lots of words for this, sometimes call it beingness. So everything and anything that has ever existed and ever will exist is part of that beingness. There's nothing separate from it. So just taking a moment to just let that, sink in or wash over you. Beingness is everything. So if beingness is everything, that means you're part of that too. So could you welcome that? And then as you do that, feeling into the beingness that you are, the beingness of all that is, check to see. Does beingness ever feel alone? Does beingness ever feel separate? Does beingness ever long to be part of something? Is there anything that beingness is not a part of? And whatever is arising as you welcome these thoughts, could you welcome that too? This may be sitting with you and you may have a greater awareness as you see yourself as part of beingness. Like, I'm part of all that is. That's me and everything else. So could you welcome that? Just allow that recognition. And if there's a sense of discomfort, a sense of resistance, of I'm not sure about that, like, you can welcome that as well. This is just a process of self-inquiry. We notice what's here and any perception of what is not here. So we're going to keep going a little bit more. There's a lot of people talk about oneness. We're all one, but sometimes it just feels like a concept. So in this moment, could you allow yourself to relax into that oneness? And just allowing yourself to just like ease into it. And any thoughts that, oh, this is just an idea. I'm actually, I am a separate individual, separate from all that is. just for now, could you just set that down? You can always come back to it. So just for now, could you be open to the possibility that I am beingness? This idea of this mind, body, whatever your name might be, that I'm actually part of that. Always. And I love using nature as a way for us to understand this, to us to really feel it in our bodies. So could you imagine this vast ocean, infinite ocean, and all that ever was is part of that ocean. So can you welcome that image? And you are just one drop, that mind, body known as your name, is one drop in that infinite ocean. But there's nothing separating you. I mean, you could use a microscope and maybe start to dial it in, but just work with me here. That there's nothing separating you from all those other drops and everything else contained in that infinite ocean. And so can you allow yourself to relax into that even more? If there's any thoughts, feelings, or sensations of resistance, could you simply notice that? Got the lights turning down here. Could you simply notice that? And allow yourself to soften just a little bit more as you welcome yourself as beingness. Just welcome beingness in that infinite ocean of all that is. Welcoming this feeling and sensation of oneness that you are. Really feeling that in your body, imagining it in your mind's eye, noticing, since we started this Sedona method inquiry, noticing any difference, noticing any sense of openness, noticing any sense of calm, any sense of feeling a little peaceful or more spacious in the body. Could you simply allow that? Could you welcome it even more? Even more. And if there's any lingering resistance, any lingering wanting to figure it out or pushing away or just any contraction at all in the body, could you simply allow that? Could you give yourself permission for whatever you're noticing right now? And noticing that that too rises and falls, ebbs and flows, comes and goes, just like the waves in that infinite ocean. Noticing that those thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, stories, concepts, it all changes. So I invite you to notice that. And if it's always changing, well, maybe that's not who I actually am. Maybe I'm just noticing that. I'm noticing that rising and falling. So are you that? Whatever that movement is through your body mind, are you that? Or are you that which is simply aware, simply noticing that movement? Can you welcome that? Welcome that awareness in this moment of who and what you are as part of that infinite ocean that contains all that is, that you'll never be separate from, no matter how hard you try. So good. And knowing that whatever you're noticing in this moment, anything that's been opened up or realized, that this is here always. Whatever gets in the way, negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, unwanted feelings, they're just like, we have an eclipse, that sun is always shining, always illuminating. But certain things, the moon covers it, eclipses it. And these are the thoughts that arise in our day when we feel upset, when we have these negative beliefs that hold us back. That's just what's eclipsing that light that's always here. That light that's revealed as we do releasing or other tools that help us let go and remember the truth of who we are. Yeah, well, good. So this is a snapshot. This was just a kind of a group release to just kind of explore. And this is one of the tools that you'll really become familiar with as we do deep listening together. And it is something that we, really encourage you to take this in your life. Just start to practice, and we just start by noticing. And that's really what deep listening, what that name implies, is that we start to pay attention, we notice, we get out of that loop of our minds and our day-to-day lives, and just seeing what's happening within this mind, within this body. Taking time to deeply listen to what's happening here, so we can create more space, more freedom, more access to peace and joy and love, which are all the core of who we truly are. Yay! So I'm super excited to share with all of you. Like I said, deep listening starts on March 20th. It's the third Wednesday of every month, $27 a session, no commitment. You can come and go as you please. The spring series is all about emergence and the creative energy of spring and removing any blocks so we can birth new things in our lives. And we'll be spotlighting Crabtree Farms here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And for anyone who's local, we'll have the service day at the end of the series. So that is the gist of it all. Any last questions or comments before we end for today? I'm so grateful for anyone who is here and anyone who will hear this message. I'm really excited to share with all of you.
Thanks, Laurel.
You're welcome, Zaylin. Thanks for being here. Yay, well, good. Appreciating you all very, very much. And yeah, just sending you off with love on this great journey of life. It's such a wonderful experience that we get to be in these bodies. And so, really, how can we appreciate and honor and really have more compassion for this experience? That's a big part of this as well. It's just, what you might look at as something that we label as wrong or bad. How can we just accept and love every aspect of this experience and just really have true compassion for who we are and what we truly are. So I send you all off with love and joy and peace and look forward to seeing you again. Take care, friends. Let me just